Amazon has announced that they are canceling Stargate's new series, a series that could have breathed new life into this franchise that has languished and needed some proper upkeep since the last proper series ended back in 2010s. Unfortunately, it looks like at this moment in time we will not be getting that, and from what I can tell, we will not be getting anything of high quality for some time. Now, exactly what was the reason for them ending it? Was it that there was a major controversy between the director and Amazon Studios? Was there some blow up at Amazon Studios where they had to sell off stuff and there's just been crisis mode? No, the greatest crime that they committed was making a show for the fans, for the audience that's going to come watch the show immediately. They're going to go and buy Amazon Plus to go watch it on your streaming services. The people who are the hardcores, it was too much for them. Apparently, in this article from Variety, the reason why it was shut down is that Amazon execs were concerned that Garrow's take on the series would not have broad appeal beyond the franchise's already dedicated fan base. Are you out of your mind? Stargate is one of the greatest sci-fi shows that has been made, in my personal opinion. It is right up there with Star Trek and Star Wars. A little bit lesser, just because it's only been on TV ever. Whereas for Star Trek, you can say it's been in the movies and on TV shows. And for Star Wars, that's been pretty much primarily in the movie theaters. Only recently been dimmed because of Disney, but that's beating around the bush. Stargate is a phenomenal universe that should be treasured and appreciated. Unfortunately, MGM just did not seem to have the ability or financial will to continue that on after Universe. Yeah, I know there's some stuff that happened afterwards with Origins, but no one talks about that. That's just garbage in my opinion. I don't like that series, so I'm not even going to talk about them. What we do need to talk about though is how did we get here? It's not that they just woke up one day like, okay, we are out of here, we're done, we don't want to touch this anymore. So let's dive in and talk about exactly what happened. And to go into that, we kind of have to go into last year when this was first being announced, because the reason why is that it all starts there. So last year there was a gentleman by the name of Peter Friedland who became the Amazon TV studio chief, and he was going to be in charge of all the TV programming for Amazon Studios at the end of October. Whereas at the end of October, going into November, is when we learn that there's going to be a new Stargate series coming to Amazon MGM TV. So, putting that together, he at least knew of the plans, he at least knew what was going on. Maybe he didn't sign off on the paperwork finally. I think that's unlikely. I think he was part of it, he gave his blessing for it, and everything was on the up and up. Unfortunately, a few months later, there was then a shakeup that occurred at Amazon MGM Studios. And what exactly was this shakeup exactly that entailed this? Well, our man Peter Finland decided to go ahead and change how the dynamics were working. You see, beforehand, there was really two departments. There was the stuff that was made, that was owned in co-productions, and the stuff that was not. Unfortunately, that was then done away with to create this new structure where you then have drama and comedy, world building, animation, and unscripted genres. That's the primary way that's going to be broken up there. And why is this important? Well, it's important because the owned and co-productions was being led by a gentleman by the name of Nick Pepper. And he was over that. This was his area. This is what Stargate and Lord of the Rings fell under. And his role was eliminated. He left the company at that point, and then we brought in someone called Blair Fetter. And Blair Fetter, he came in from Netflix to take over the world building TV production programs. So just keep that in mind as we go through the story here. So this whole change-up happened. Okay, so a little slight change, but we still have Peter Friedland, who was there when the dotted line signed off for the Stargate series. Okay, we're all good there. Let's move forward a little bit further down the line. Then we get to around early April. And early April, there is a second reorganizing, except for it's not a massive reorganizing this time. It's just in the world building section under Blair Fetter. And he then lets go the gentleman by the name of Matthew King. And King was someone who was over Lord of the Rings and Stargate and had his hands over that whole area of the world building. And so he lets him go and they do some more reshuffling. Where you then fast forward to a couple months where it has now been canceled. So how did we get here? What is going on? It sounds like they are getting rid of the director team, creative team on the corporate side that eventually killed Stargate. Is it that they just hated Stargate? Or is there something a little bit more intense going on here? There's 3 possible reasons why Stargate got axed, in my personal opinion. First is just the corporate structuring. When you move things around, when you change things up, sometimes, unfortunately, programs can be thrown away. You don't want to keep on producing the old regime stuff, so you brush it off to the side. Even though Peter Finland is still there, it's not necessarily Blair Fetter's project. It was somebody else's that he is now coming over and taking over. So maybe that's the reason one, if you go in by the corporate byline there. The other one, which is what I personally subscribe to, is that they're wanting to put DEI and wokeism into Stargate. As you said, that in this article, they didn't think they had broad enough appeal. Well, what's broad enough appeal in Hollywood these days? That's more of the wokeism. That's turning everything into queer theory, gender theory. It just all the stuff that people don't want. Like, just give us our franchise, give us our stories. You can have characters that like that, but don't make that all what they are. Give us actually fleshed out people. Unfortunately, from what a lot of people have been saying, and I had to concur, is that's kind of was the direction that I would go with. I mean, we don't have a direct reason why, but what else could be the reason? So that's the second reason. The third reason is Blair Vetter himself. Now, I don't want to diss on the man. I don't know him personally. I don't know too much about him. But here's the thing. When he was working at Netflix, he was working on projects like Stranger Things, Queen's Gambit, 3 Body Problems. All successful shows, all very well renowned. One thing though, all 3 of them that have in common, they don't have a franchise or long history that's been established. Yes, I understand the 3 Body Problem already has a book series, and that was based off that, but it's not the same as having television series. Franchises already set, and something to be basing your world off of all that content you have to go through. With the books, you can get an audiobook or get an aide who's read it, and then can give you the cliff notes so you can make your show. With Stargate, though, there's so much lore, so much content there that you don't have to get someone who really knows their stuff if you want to build a show that is authentic. Because you can't just all of a sudden just be going off to the Pegasus system and not have people asking questions like, wait, where's the Wraith? What's going on here? Like, oh, why don't we see them? Well, if you just start treating the universe like willy-nilly and not actually care about the lore, people are going to be asking like, hey, why is Anubis back? I thought he was dead. Or, wait, Ra's here? Oh, okay, that changes everything with the Goa'uld. Like, there's a lot of questions that you have to be careful about when you're dealing with a Stargate franchise, that if you want to keep the whole lore going. Or you could just completely start from scratch and just do a reboot, which a lot of fans don't want. You gained a lot of positive attention when Martin Gero came out and said that this is not going to be a reboot, that this is going to be a continuation, starting off a brand new journey. But from what we can tell, that's not what you went for. And part of the reason is that you're trying to streamline the process. No shame against you, my man. But from what I can tell from your background is that you don't want to deal with the baggage of having that old franchise, old extended universe. You want something fresh, something easy to move, get stuff pushed out. Unfortunately, that wasn't going to be Stargate. Stargate is something that is going to take time to process and analyze and really come together if you want to make a great show that doesn't tread on the 3 other shows that have come before with SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, and Stargate Universe, which I don't think is what he wanted to happen here. At least from what we're seeing in these articles, it sounded like he was supposed to be something more fast-paced, and that wasn't really what we were going to be getting. So now we'll have to see exactly what the fate of Stargate is in the future. I personally think this is probably the end of the Stargate that we know. I think this is the final nail in the coffin. You had showrunners, people who have worked on the original Stargate, people who are fans of Stargate when they were kids, all coming together to create an amazing show, and Amazon just brushed it off to the past. If you want my honest opinion, I think you should probably come out and check out Joseph Malzani's tweets when he was on X, or they called X posts. Sorry, I can't remember them quite well. He had a great statement on X where he said, "Sadly, it's true. Amazon has elected not to move forward with the new Stargate series. There's not much I can add beyond confirming what's happened, but I will say this. Creator Martin Gero developed a new Stargate series over 2 years, ultimately crafting a show that offered a fresh jumping on point for new viewers while deeply respecting existing canon. It was a series that avoided the pitfalls of several modern remakes and reboots by fully embracing the core of its predecessors: action, adventure, exploration, wonder, heart, humor, and found family. And based on that creative vision, the new Stargate series was greenlit in November of 2025. As of today, officially, that original vision is no more. We'll never get the opportunity to introduce you to that world and those characters, or reintroduce you to and check in with some familiar faces from the past. My heart breaks for the incredibly talented writers who worked tirelessly to bring this show to life. For Martin, who maintained an unwavering positive outlook throughout despite the challenges, and who always strove to make a show that would honor the fans while welcoming a new audience, and for the long-suffering Stargate fandom who waited so long and came so close to getting a show they truly would have loved. This is an excellent post by Joseph Mazzilli, and if you don't know him, that's fine. He's from SG-1. He worked on some of Stargate Atlantis, and I think he might even touch a little bit of Stargate Universe, if I remember correctly. But a great man to go and follow his stuff on X. He makes a lot of posts there, and I'd follow him there. Now, the fandom, as you know, has not been taking this well, and I can't blame them. I would not be taking this well either. There's been several petitions I've been putting out there. From what I can tell, they've all been pretty successful. The petition this time to bring back Stargate is already up to 62,000 as of this time of recording. I hope that only grows. From what I can tell, there was a banner to put together saying "Save Stargate" to be flown over the corporate office to try to tell, hey, we would like this back. That has already met its fundraising goal, so we're good there. But although these are good things, although I hope for the best, a lot of these efforts usually fall on deaf ears. Only a few times throughout history within the last 20 years have these actually really come to fruition, and I just don't know if it's going to work. I hope everyone does try to go out and still try to fight. I'm not trying to Debbie Down anyone. I'm just trying to be realistic here. Put your best foot out there. Tell them that you want the Stargate back, and tell them you want to have true great adventures and not this woke DEI stuff that they supposedly are trying to shove down our throats. With that said, though, I want to hear what you guys' thoughts are. What were your thoughts on the new Stargate series? What adventures did you think were going to wait for us in the future? How do you think Martin Gero was going to present this adventure to us and bring in new audiences? Do you think Amazon will realize their mistake and bring back Martin Gero? After all, he is still working with the company, so maybe it's just put on the back burner for a while and he'll bring it back in full force in a year or two. I can't wait to hear what you guys' thoughts are. Leave a like if you liked the video, leave a dislike if you did not, and I can't wait to hear from you. Y'all take care now. Bye bye for now.